A colorless society. Oh my goodness. So what's happening right now is a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing for all the Negroes who are like hashtag sit on the couch. Oh, I ain't gonna vote because voting doesn't mean anything. And it's a curse for those of us who have an IQ above room temperature and understand that yes, voting does have an impact. And the reason that I'm putting out this video, because it seems that this case is not getting the attention that it needs to. And this is a very big case that will have a rippling effect, especially in Black America. And what this case is revolving around is the Voting Rights Act. And this is something that I talked about, pre-election, of warning people, hey, this is what they're planning to do when it comes to Project 2025. They're looking to get rid of all the civil rights legislation and anything that even seemingly appears to be a part of civil rights legislation. We saw that when it came to, affirmative action. In their mindset, right, in their head, and I mean the racist, the white ignorance, how they view it is, well, Lucas, there's no law that prohibits Black people from doing anything that a white person can do, so there is no racism.
Come on now, dawg.
That is their juvenile, just anti-Black mindset. They want to say that there's no racist law. There's no law on the books that says Black people can't do this. That's their view of, hey, racism is gone.
For the Negro, they are a constant reminder of oppression. For the white, they are a constant reminder of guilt. But they must be faced, and they must be dealt with, and they must be overcome.
Now, of course, the reason why I say it's a juvenile approach, because you cannot harm a group of people for hundreds and hundreds of years and then remove those laws in which you impacted them mentally, physically, and spiritually for over those hundreds of years and say, well, everything's good, right? We're cool, okay?
You do not take a person who for years has been hobbled by chains and liberate him, bringing up to the starting line of a race, and then say, you are free to compete with all the others.
That's not how that works. And the cruel irony of this is that they understand that. The same racists who are filing these fraudulent cases, they understand that. So what they're aiming to do is to change over the Supreme Court. And we saw that was fulfilled via Trump. Now we get judges. So now we have, district court judges that view the same way that they, by the racial lens. That's how they view it. Their anti-Black racial lens. Now, all this has to do with the case in Louisiana, where Black people are like, hey, out of the 6 districts, there's only 1 Black district. That's not fair because we're like a third of the population. Like, you got to give us some more representation. Like, what are we talking about? So they were like, all right, bet. We're going to give you another district. So they do out this long line where it's a second Black minority district. Now, what has happened since they've done that is that you have white conservatives, you have white ignorance, the racists, the lineage of evil, who are saying, you can't do that. That's racist. That's racial gerrymandering, and you can't do it. Not only that, but that's against the 14th Amendment, okay, the Equal Protection Clause. You can't do that.
The Voting Rights Act prevents or prohibits redrawing district lines to disadvantage minorities. But meanwhile, over at the Constitution, you can't, under the Equal Protection Clause, favor one group over another group, and that includes race.
I want you to understand what they're looking to do. They are looking to use laws that were put in place to protect Black Americans, okay? A lot of these laws, a lot of the Constitution was put in there to protect Black people. They are now using those laws that were aimed to protect Black people to now protect themselves. That's correct. The racists are using the laws to protect themselves that were created to benefit Black Americans.
Come on, man.
We saw this with the Fearless Fund, okay, where they want to say, hey, that's racism. You creating a fund specifically, exclusive to Black women, that's racism. You can't do that. So what you have to understand is that all the policies, all the legislations, whether it's DEI, whether it's affirmative action, all these, they're looking to eradicate that because they view that as racist laws. Now, as I said before, you can't just remove all the restrictions and think it's an equal playing ground after you have harmed a group of people for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. You can't do that. But that's what they're looking to do. And that's why this is so important. Because if you look at the Supreme Court, you have Clarence Thomas, who is very much all about that. He believes that this, the Voting Rights Act, especially Section 2, which says, hey, you can't do any policies, that are discriminatory based on race. Once again, because of black people, because that's exactly what they were doing to black people. The grandfather clause, you'd have do all these tests, right, to vote. That's what they were trying to do. They were trying to put in laws to prevent black people from voting.
First of all, Clarence Thomas wants this case so bad. I mean, he's biting at the bit to get to this case, because back in June when they were attempting to resolve it, and they set it for this hearing date now, Clarence Thomas wanted to actually have a hearing on the merits, and he said it makes no sense to not address the underlying issue, which is the Voting Rights Act. He has systematically attempted to gut the Voting Rights Act since he's been in office.
As I've said before, they viewed those laws as antiquated. Well, that's not needed anymore. They've done this before when it came to the Supreme Court, when it came to the Voting Rights Act, where before they knew that especially these southern states, these Confederate states, were so racist. They included some northern states as well, but they knew they were so racist. They were like, hey, before you do any changes to voting, y'all got to get approval. Y'all got to get approval before you make any changes. They got rid of that.
Section 5, the pre-clearance requirement. That was because we knew that your state was so unfair to African Americans. Before you can make any changes in your state, you had to get Department of Justice, get authority to make changes. Removing that pre-clearance was the first step to eroding the things that were put in place with the Voting Rights Act.
So best believe they're looking to get rid of all of that because they view it as antiquated, as I said before, where there's like, hey, there's no need for these protections, all right? We're not living in the 1950s anymore. Black people aren't slaves. There are no Jim Crow laws, okay? Black people can eat at the white diner along white people, or they can eat at any diner that they want. Why do we have these protections? They're not necessary, okay? We need to have a colorblind society where we see everyone as equal, where we're all American.
Wake up, nigga.
Now, I know you've heard that spiel before. I know you've heard that spiel before because I've heard it ad nauseum. And that's their take on what we have right now in the United States. That's what their take on the Civil Rights Act. That's their take on any legislation that aims to level the playing ground, because they very much have disdain about this. They're like, hey, you've gotten all these benefits over all these years and you guys are still in the same place. Now, when you give them a little more of an understanding of, well, these laws really didn't do anything for us. They really were being exploited by other groups. I don't want to hear about any of that. That's what they'll do, because they're not looking for understanding. They're looking to be punitive. That's what they're looking. They're looking to harm black people, because that's been their goal since we've got here. As soon as we got off the plantation, they didn't want anything to do with this. Now we were criminals, we were thugs, we were, violence and, low impulse control. But when we were working on the field, that's good work, man. That's good. That's an excellent job, right? When we were tending the fields, tending their children, doing the crops and everything, we knew how to do all that. Now, all of a sudden, once we get off the plantation, these Negroes don't know anything. They didn't build anything. They weren't kings. We were by kings. They weren't doing anything. That's how that works, right? That's how that works. So you have to understand that this is absolutely crucial, because if they overturn this, which is what it's looking like, you can kiss, your voting representation as a black vote, you can kiss that goodbye.
So now Section 2, if you remove that, it's going to be the wild, wild west of the map drawings in our country.
And where that leaves black people in this country is in a very, very difficult position. All right. We're talking about going pre-civil rights era, because that's where they want to go, because they don't want black people and they don't want brown people. There's been too many, as we can see when it comes to white flight. Hey, you get too many black people in the neighborhood, they start to leave. All right. You get too many brown people in the neighborhood, they start to leave. And it has nothing to do with, as far as respectability politics, they just don't like seeing that. That's what you have to understand. And that is unfortunately a good chunk of this country. Anyways, guys, that's the video. Let me know what you guys think, whether or not you believe, Louis, I'm still not going to vote, okay? You was a Democrat shield. I tell you that. You a Democrat shield, and I ain't going to fall for the trick bag, okay, family? Or if you have belief, listen, if we could have a purge of the black ignorance within the community, we could literally have Wakanda, bro. We could have the United States of black people. Not that I'm saying that's what we want, but we could actually have equality. That's what we could have. But it's these ignorants, bro. These ignorants, man, We can't have anything nice with these mofos, bruh. And now we're about to lose any type of power, you know, the voting power that we haven't been utilizing this entire time. And I guess the saying is true, you know, if you don't use it, you lose it. And that's what they're looking to do. Anyways, we happen to disagree. You know where to find me. Thursday through Saturday, disagreement day. You call in and we duke it out. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please feel free to like, share, comment. Let me know what you guys think about this. And subscribe. And that fun stuff. Till next time, guys, be amazing. And I ain't gonna fall for the trick bag, okay, family?